I want to thank you for giving the time to do it.
No, come on, dude. Thank you for supporting.
No problem. So, like, as a child, what did you want to be when you got older?
Originally, I wanted to be a drummer.
All right.
I think everyone knows that. I think every interview I do, everyone wants to know something about me. I always start there because I do a lot of things, as a lot of people know. I sing, I rap, I produce, but where it all started was the drums. So I actually am a drummer before anything, and that's the first thing I wanted to do before hip hop or singing or being an artist. Like I was a drummer, and I picked up the drums when I was about 4 years old, and that's really what it was. That's what I wanted to do. There was no thought of me being a singer or a rapper or a songwriter. It was just I wanted to be a drummer. So that is what I wanted to do when I get older. At that time, that's what I wanted to do.
So when you were younger, like what type of music did you listen to? Like any favorite artists?
Oh yeah. Because I played the drums. Like I obviously was surrounded by music. Because when you're an instrumentalist, you don't have to be a singer or a front man. Like if you're a drummer or a bass player or a trumpet player, like whatever instrument you play, you're going to listen to music that makes you want to get better at your instrument and learn how to make it sound differently. So me being a drummer, like I looked up to people like John Bonham and Keith Moon and Ginger Baker, Led Zeppelin, the Cream, Stuart Copeland from The Police, and I was really heavily influenced by like classic rock growing up, like before hip hop and soul music. It was classic rock, Santana, the Beatles, King Crimson, stuff like that. So that's definitely the kind of music I started listening to before anything else.
Yeah. So say you're in my shoes and you're getting ready to graduate.
Yeah.
What were your initial plans after high school?
Oh man, my initial plans were to do what everyone else did, which was go to college. But I don't know if that's really what I wanted to do. I think that's just what I did because society made me feel like that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's like you get pressured, and I didn't do good in high school. I didn't do good in elementary school, middle school. I didn't do good academically. I wouldn't do my homework. I would not. I'd come home from school and I would listen to Sublime,
Yes.
and watch VH1. My whole life is surrounded by the obsession of music. So I never did good in school. So by the time I was ready to graduate from high school, I was actually kind of worried. My initial thought was go to college because that's what everyone else does. But I was like, do I really want to do that? I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can even get into a good college, because I didn't do good. You know what I mean? I passed and I graduated from high school and I made it, but I was, concerned with where my future was going to take me and I was so young. It's like, I was 17 and I was like, man, I'm getting so old. I don't know what I'm going to do. And now I'm 23 and I'm not even saying that. I'm like, wow, I was really young then because I'm still young now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had a lot of time, but I honestly didn't know what I was going to do. You know what I mean? But I ended up going to college, but I didn't graduate from college.
So where did you go to college at?
Well, I went to 3 different colleges. The first one I went to was Hunter College in New York City.
All right, that's cool.
And the only reason I went there is because I actually applied to this other school, University of Tampa in Florida, which has nothing to do with music or what I wanted to do. I just thought it was kind of fly. It's like Florida, and it's warm, and get out of New York, and there's beautiful girls and stuff like that. I wasn't really focusing on my goal of wanting to be a performer. I knew that I was going to do it, and I wanted to, but I was like, you know what? Let me give this a try. So I got in there late. I applied to Tampa and I got in there late, so I had to do a semester elsewhere first. So I did a semester at Hunter College in New York, and I went to Tampa for that second semester, and I didn't do good, obviously. I partied, and I didn't want to be there anymore because I was just like, why am I here? I want to be a performer. I really want to do music. So I just felt like I was wasting my time. So then at that point, I went back to New York and I went to a music school. Five Towns College. It's a school for kids that want to learn about audio engineering and music theory and stuff like that. But even then, I was like, I don't want to be a music teacher.
Yeah.
I don't want to be an engineer. I want to be a rock star, and you can't be taught that in school. You know, you can't learn that in school. So I think by the time I had reached my third school that I attended, I was just like, well, I don't even know if school in general makes sense for me. And when I was at Five Towns College, there'd be times where like I had finals, and tests that I'd have to take, and but instead I would be networking, in New York City. I wouldn't go to school. Like I remember I had a final at 8 a.m. and instead of taking my final that you needed to take to like pass the course, I ended up picking up members of Cypress Hill, Be Real and Sendog from Hot 97, because I was interning at this place, the Fader magazine, and interning there led to other things for me to do and network and stuff like that. And so I just disregarded school and I just kept networking. It's like I had two lives, you know what I mean? Like I had this one life where like I was supposed to be the student and like get good grades and my parents were paying for school and be like every other kid. And then at the same time though, I had this other life where like I'm trying to be an artist and like no one understands it, and like it was like Batman and Bruce Wayne. I was like literally living with two different people, and I ended up staying as Batman. I ended up staying as Jared Evan. Not Jared Siegel. That's my real, my full name. So I just took my first and middle name, and I wanted to become an artist. You know what I mean? And I didn't go back to school, and I worked really hard, and I ended up getting a record deal. When I got the record deal, I was given enough money and funding to not have to go back to school. You know what I mean? So that's what happened.
So when you became like an independent artist, what was your biggest fear of, having that happen?
Yeah, well, initially, I didn't get dropped from my label.
Yeah.
I left my label. Mm-hmm. So, when you get dropped, it's different because getting dropped is like getting fired. It's like it's not a good feeling. It makes you feel like you're not qualified enough to keep this job. You know what I mean? Or you're not dope. And so, but that wasn't my case. You know what I mean? I Interscope, which was the label I was signed to, they were helping me a lot. And like, there's so many people now. Like, I'm still brand new to everyone, and all these kids that are meeting me now don't know that I was already signed.
Yeah,
like,
I knew that.
I already got a lot of money, and I worked with Dr. Dre, and I worked with Pharrell, and I ate dinner with Jimmy Iovine at his house while we listened to my album, and Lenny Kravitz was there, and like, a lot of people don't know that, and but what the thing is like that stuff is only really fun and exciting. It doesn't contribute to like your fan base or your movement as an artist. Like it's a mental thing that makes you feel like cool. You know what I mean? So when I left Interscope, the only thing that really was different was the cool factor of like not being part of that label. You know what I mean? But in all reality, though, I was much better off without them, because if I were to stay on Interscope, I would have just stayed on Interscope and then have them do nothing, and any music I'd want to sell or put out, they would control it and they would take money from it, and they would not, who knows, like if I was still on Interscope and I want to put out Boom Bap and Blues, they might not even allow that to be, because they can control that. So I was just like, well, I don't like that, you know what I mean? So I was blessed enough to just kind of walk out of there, and all is love. I still love everyone at Interscope, and I'm not saying I won't ever do a deal again. Who knows? I might, but for right now, it's all about the fans, and it's about the fan base, and it's really all it's about, because labels won't bet on anything unless they see it working first. And so the most important thing is to have it work first, and the only way you can do that is if the fans allow that to happen. So the most important thing is what I'm saying is the fans, and that's what I'm concentrating on now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, were your parents always supportive of your music?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they always, first of all, my parents, they grew up in the same, lifestyle I did. They both grew up. My mom was born in Brooklyn, but she grew up in Long Island, and my dad grew up in Long Island, and they grew up during, Woodstock and all that, and they smoked weed, and you know what I mean, and they were cool, and so they get it, you know what I mean. They understood, and they always understood that I was kind of different, and was troubled in a sense, because they were worried that they didn't know what I was gonna do. If it wasn't for music, I don't know what I would do. So they always were supportive of my music, you know. They always wanted me to keep playing my drums, and like, they were the best, actually. They're the best. They always supported it and promoted me continuing to do my music. So like when I got the record deal, like you can imagine how they were feeling. They were like, oh my God, you know, this is amazing. So, and you know, and there's been tough times and rough patches, but they're still there. They believe in it, and they know that this is what I'm destined to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So did anybody like try stopping you like from pursuing a career in music?
No. Like no. You know, I didn't have it wasn't like a movie where like my dad wanted me to be a lawyer or something. It's not like that. He's cool. My dad introduced me to Led Zeppelin and Cream and like the coolest shit, you know what I mean? So he's cool. He still goes to Fish concerts, you know, and he likes Dave Matthews Band, and like he is about that. So like I never had someone like making me feel pressure to like be a doctor or something like that.
So what's your like main motivator to keep pursuing your career in music?
I think the main motivator is to, you know, be able the impact. I think that right now I've made an impact on people's lives. There's definitely fans out there that I can say that I've impacted their life and like help their life, you know. So my goal is to like times that by 1 billion. You know what I mean? My goal is to have a voice and stand for something. Like when you see Bradley Nowell or like Bob Marley in a painting, you know what I mean, or a picture, it's like they seem iconic, but they seem iconic because the content of their music is impactful, you know what I mean? But I want to be one of those people, and so I think what I'm really trying to say is like the end goal is to just, you know, times that by like billions, you know what I mean, and have the whole world be able to hear my voice and like, you know, be able to relate to what I'm saying. And that's the goal. Obviously, I want to win a Grammy or two and a VMA. Those are definitely all part of the goal. But the real goal is to just be someone that kids look up to for inspiration, you know, but on a mass level, you know what I mean?
So what type of skills does a person in your field need to be successful?
There's really only a couple skills, you know. You need to be talented. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that anyone can do this because, like, it's the same with, you know, athletes. It's like you can work so hard during football practice in high school or whatever and go to every practice and be hardworking and which is, you need that also. You need to work really hard. But, you know, I think to a degree, though, like, you need to be born with it. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm saying is someone could practice so hard on a sport or something, but still not be able to beat the kid who never practiced but just had it. You know what I mean? Like 2 kids could show up for practice, one that's there every day and is super dedicated, and one that isn't, but that just could throw that ball like Eli Manning. You know what I mean? He just has it. So I think part of it is, you know, it's destiny. You know, part of it is, you know, I think part of it is just really you need to be born with the destiny of it. You know what I mean? And aside from that, you need to work super hard. You know, you need to put all of your efforts into this one thing. You can't just like get a day job and like try to do this. Like, if you want to do this, this needs to be your day job. You know what I mean? So, you know, talent, hard work, and commitment. You know what I mean? Just whenever there's something wrong that happens or there's rough patches, like, you need to understand that it takes a long time. You know, and no one gets there overnight. And if there are artists that get there overnight, they don't last. You know what I mean? The ones that last are the ones that have been doing this for years, and then finally they hit, and then they stay. You know what I mean? So, talent, hard work, commitment. That's what.
So, say if I wanted to go into the music career, like
as an artist.
Yeah, as an artist, you know, what would you say? Like, what would you recommend doing, you know, to get there?
Honing your craft. You know what I mean? Figuring out who you are musically. You know, once you figure out what your identity is as a person, you need to translate that over into your music, you know, and then that's when you really will have something special. Because Hoodie, for instance, it's like in his music we know him, you know, we know his personality, and we know everything about him just by hearing his voice. You know what I mean? And that is hard to do. It's hard to, like, you know, amplify your personality through your music. You know what I mean? And it took me a long time too. For a while, you know, when I was on Interscope, they wanted me to do something that I didn't really, wasn't me. So when I did it, people were confused because they're like, well, that doesn't make sense because is that Jared? And so, you know, I feel like now I'm at a point in my life where finally, like, you know it's Jared. You know, it's like you listen to Charlie Brown and
You
One
can
Good
feel the
Thing, and
emotion.
like, yeah, you just know it. You just know the voice, and it takes a long time to master that. And so, yeah, my advice for you would just to be like, figure out who you are, and if you have already, now figure out how to like translate that into your music, you know, because your personality and your music need to be one and the same, you know, and that's the only way you're gonna really move people, you know what I mean?
So do you ever like feel like that your career like over consumes your lifestyle?
Absolutely, but I love it.
Yeah.
This is what I live for. I love it. You know, I'm not where I want to be at, so I'm not satisfied, but I still love it because it feels like an adventure. You know, it feels like I'm working towards this thing that once I get there, it's just going to be amazing. And so every day when I accomplish something, it's like I'm that much closer to it. You know what I mean? So it is my life. This is what I do. This is all I do. This is all I think about. Like when I'm not performing, when I'm on the bus trying to go to sleep, I'm thinking about what's the next song I'm gonna make. You know what I mean? Like, because I love it so much. You know what I mean? So that's really important.
So what's like a typical day of being an artist while not on tour?
The typical day of being an artist while not being physically on tour and promoting yourself is still promoting yourself. It's continuously writing down ideas. Every time I see something like, you know, this light, like I might look at that for a while and be like, wow, how can I turn that into a song? You know what I mean? Like, what can that mean? How can I make that a metaphor? Like, you know, so when I'm not touring, like everything I'm doing is revolving around music and my career and art and illustration, imagery, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm also an artist, like I artist in the sense that visually things move me, you know, so I like to try to have that be one and the same with my music. And so when I'm not touring, you know, I'm always constantly thinking of, you know, what an album cover can look like, or like, you know, things that don't even matter. Like I might sit in like Final Cut for like an hour, like spending my like time, like consuming my time on this thing that I might just throw away after. But I spent time on it because it was really cool, and like it just, the more you do, the better, the smarter you become. The more you read, the more you do, the better you become. You know what I mean? So I'm constantly drawing, taking pictures, you know, listening to things, putting melodies down, just anything that will just make me better and stronger as a musician. You know what I mean? So I'm always doing that, constantly.
All right, do you plan on headlining your own tour anytime soon?
Yes, I don't know when that will be. I can't really say. You know,
Yeah,
that's up to the people. You know, it's up to the people when you become in demand. You know, I have no magic wand that will say when that will be, but you know, the way things are going, man, I think that can definitely happen. You know, next winter or fall. You know, if not, definitely next spring. You know, it takes time, and you know, until then, I'm going to keep doing all the things that have got me here. You know, so if they've gotten me here, they're only going to take me further. You know what I mean? So it will be soon. It will be soon, because it's like, you come to a point, you just wake up one day and you're at a point where, wow, I have a lot of fans that want to come see me now. You know what I mean? But that process takes a while. You know what I mean? I definitely think that me and Hoodie kind of started at the same time, but me being on that label and doing the label agenda and not doing what I really should have been doing, that set me back. Where he was doing whatever he wanted to do the whole time. So he kind of got to his destination a little further than me. But now that I'm free of that and I know what I want to do and like I'm doing it, it shouldn't be that much longer. You know, that's what I believe.
So how do you meet Hoodie?
Well, actually, I didn't like, you know, I met Hoodie like on the internet. You know, like I met him through mutual people. You know, like we were two artists that were doing hip hop and, you know, mixing it with songwriting and pop kind of stuff. And you know, I remember in '09 he was, you know, he'd do shows for like 10 people at like a frat party or something, you know what I mean? And while he was doing that, I was on this label, this like big label that got behind me and spent a lot of money on me. And for a minute, you know, Hoodie was like, damn, you know, I've had conversations with him where he was like, damn, that's a crazy look, like this dude Jared is like blowing up. And so there was a point where like I was kind of ahead, you know what I mean? And he was a fan, you know, like he was a fan of me. When I put out my first mixtape, Radio in My Head, he was like, shit's amazing, you know, my favorite song is Frozen. Like he was a fan of me, and the stuff that I had heard from him, like I was like, yo, you're dope. Like you use a sample, like hip hop beats, like you could rap. Like you're not like all these other dudes. Like you, so we were just always fans of each other, you know, early on, and we knew the same people. Like, you know, early on, the booking agent that he worked with originally was at one point my booking agent, and my manager knew his people. So like we just knew of each other and we were fans of each other. We didn't become like best great friends and like collaborators till like last spring when we did a show in New York together, and this was right when his album All American came out. So when All American came out, that's when we relinked. Like we knew each other for so long, but then we were like, yo, why don't let's do something, you know? And then once we did that thing, like it was beautiful, and we were like, well, this should have happened already years ago, and we just knew that this is an alliance that is very strong and that we can take it to a whole nother level. So from that point, we just continue to build, and now we're here on tour together.
So what's your favorite part of like collaborating with different artists?
I think my favorite part of collaborating with different artists is, you know, you get to step outside of what you do. So like if I'm alone by myself doing me, it's gonna sound a certain way. But then it's like if I go and work with Action Bronson or Hoodie or whoever, you know, that I work with, it's like you kind of step into their world, you know, and that is good for me. That's good for artists. It's like you need to work with other artists and try different things, because you don't know. If you just continue doing you, like you'll never know what else could have happened. So you need to try. You know what I mean? You need to try stuff. And so the coolest thing about working with other artists is seeing how far I can go, like away from where my foundation is, how far outside of there I can go without sounding like I am not me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the beauty, is to find that balance. You know what I mean? So like when I work with Hoodie, you'll hear me rub off on him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you hear Tulips, or you know, like you'll hear Jared Evans.
You can tell how you produced.
And then when he jumps on me on my record, like you'll hear Hoodie in that, you know, and it's just a cool flavor. You know what I mean? So you can wear one shirt your whole life, but when you throw some different colors in there, you might stand out a little bit more. You know what I mean? So that to me is the coolest thing, you know, that I've learned, is to, you know, work with other artists. That there's a whole new flavor that gets made. You know what I mean?
So Boom Bap and Blues reached top 10 and
actually hit number 9 a
number
couple days ago. And it didn't go number 1 yet though.
Yeah.
It was up there with some people though.
And on the soul and R&B chart of iTunes. When is your next project already being worked on, or is it when you plan on starting another one?
Well, you know, before I put Boom Bap and Blues out, I already kind of had my next project done. But now that I put out Boom Bap and Blues and people are reacting the way they are to it, it kind of makes me want to rethink my next one, because it seems people really like this. You know, originally I was going to work with Illmind on my next project, who did most of the 4th chapter. He did One Good Thing and Charlie Brown. You know, he did most of that album. And so I was planning to kind of go back to that. You know, I was planning on my next project sounding more like the 4th chapter, you know. But this album I just put out went top 10 in a day of me putting it out. And yeah, it seems that like, people are really talking about it. And it makes me think that, well, wow, if there's a way to combine what I normally do with 4th chapter with Boom Bap and Blues, that I think should be the next project. So now I'm kind of figuring out what the next project will be. I definitely want it to be reminiscent of both Boom Bap and Blues and the 4th chapter, because both people love both of them, you know what I mean? And I think the 4th chapter is way more personal, and it explains who I am way more. But Boom Bap and Blues, the sound of it is cool. It's just no one's doing that, you know? So I want to figure out a balance of how to do both. And so I think that's going to be the next project.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
was trying to think of some other questions. Do you have like any major fears
Spiders.
of being an artist, like that, like it could eventually like possibly fail, and then you're
Yeah, every day. You know, every day you have it. You do. You know, even when you're big, even Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga have that. You know what I mean? Because once you reach a certain level, you think, well, how am I going to do that again and again and again and again and again? You know what I mean? And at the level I'm at, yeah, you know, it's because I put a lot of time into my career, and I've already been through a record deal. And you know, I see a lot of acts out there that it seems like they have a record and they take off. And so when that happens, it does discourage you a little bit naturally, but you can't let it consume you, and you can't let it get to you, and you can't think about the negative. You can't think about the dark side. You know what I mean? If you think about the dark side, it's going to be dark. You need to think about the fans, straight up. You know, the fans are what keep me happy, because they're the ones that give me hope. You know what I mean? And that's it. You got to think about the positivity, because if you just think about the darkness of the music industry, you're gonna go dark, and it's gonna affect you greatly. So, you know, I try to just focus on the people that support me, and the more I do it, the better I'll be, and the better I'll be, the bigger I'll grow. You know what I mean? And it's just so true. That's how it is. You know.
So when you had your first performance, was it really nerve-wracking?
My first performance, like as
an artist, just overall.
Yeah, it still is. Tonight, I'm gonna be nervous. I always am. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say that I like, you know, am at a point where like I don't know what to do. Like I'm, you know, developed I think at this point enough to say that like, this is what I do, and I'm, you know, this is just kind of like brushing my teeth at this point. But no matter what, you're always gonna get those little jitters. You know what I mean? If you don't, then you're not concerned with your career. You know what I mean? If you're trying to be a perfectionist and like blow people away every night, you're gonna have these thoughts going through your head, and you know it's gonna make you a little nervous. You know what I mean? So I'm always gonna have that. You know what I mean? Because I always want to be perfect. And whenever you want to be perfect, you need to think about it. When you think, you get nervous. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be like that.
Yeah. So as a student getting ready to go out into the real world, what's the greatest advice that you could give?
I would say, you know, do you. Like, don't. When you leave high school and you know you go out into the real world, nothing matters anymore in terms of like being cool or like, you know, being the most popular kid, or you know, all that stuff goes out the window. You know, none of that matters anymore. You know, what's cool when you leave high school? What's cool is being successful. That's what's cool. You know what I mean? So, I would say, you know, don't worry about others, and don't worry about what they're doing, because it doesn't matter. There's no small pond you're in anymore. You're in a big ocean. You know what I mean? And when you're in this ocean, you need to focus on your dog and how you're going to get to shore. You know what I'm saying? So you can't focus on everyone else that's in there, or else it's going to delay your journey. You know what I mean? So, you know, just think about you and whatever it is you want to do. That's what you need to do. You know, do it. Like, there's so many dudes out there that like want to be artists and want to be rappers and stuff, but they don't take it seriously. You know, they might put a beat on, you know, when they go home and rap with their friends. But if you want to do it, do it. Make it your life. You know what I mean? It's not corny. Like, do it. You know what I mean? So I think something that everyone leaving that kind of place, going into the real world, you need to know that like you can do whatever you want. You just need to do it. You know?
Alrighty. Thanks.
That it?
Yeah.
Dope.
Thanks.
It was dope.
Wow.
Yeah, man, that was awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I can't wait to see it, man.